Welcome to my lecture on subtracting binary numbers. Yesterday we looked at adding binary numbers. Today we're busy with subtraction. I encourage you to press subscribe here at the bottom of the screen to follow me so I can help you daily with your maths. If you're not already a subscriber, welcome on board. Right, let's start. Now, subtraction, we know, always works with borrowing if you don't have enough in the top number to subtract the bottom number, and it's very much the same with binary. But before we begin, I just need to point out that we are going to just look at these numbers as they're on their decimal form first. This number 1101, this binary number, let's just write it down here at the bottom. Let me just change color so it can be visible there. So this is our binary place values here, as you've learned in my first binary lecture. And if you haven't done that one, you're welcome to find it on my YouTube channel and go revise it. So let's look at the values and why it comes to 13 in decimal. We have here 1011. That's this number that we're going to be subtracting from. And we can see it's 18, 14, and 11, and those are there. And that comes to 13 in our decimal system. Okay. And the other one is 1, 1, which means it's 1, 2, and 1, 1, 1, 2, and 1, 1, which is going to be equal to 3. So ideally, when we have finished our subtraction over here, our answer in binary should come to the same as 10 in decimal, because 13 minus 3 is 10. Right, so let's go about doing it. Now, before we start with our borrowing here, I need to just remind you that these numbers down here on our place value headings are all double of the previous one. So when we borrow from a column, we must bear in mind what that value of that column is. For instance, number 4 over here, if I were to borrow from 4, it would be 2 lots of 2, because it's 2 times 2. So I would be taking 2 lots of 2 from it. If I borrow from 8 over here, it would be 3 lots of 2, 2 times 2 times 2. So that's what I take to the column that's receiving the borrowed unit. Right, let's go do something with it then so you can understand it better by practicing. Right, so let us start here at the top. And as usual, we're going to work in our columns. Now, this column here technically is worth 1, that's worth 2, that's worth 4, that's worth 8, just like our headings down here. Right, so let us take those away, just bear those in mind. 1 minus 1 we can do, and our answer is going to be 0. And we're going to continue onto this column next, but actually, let us quickly just fill in zeros here to make life simple for us. We're welcome to do that because it doesn't change the value of the binary number, just so that we have columns to work with. So now we're on the second column, we're over here. And we can't minus a 1 from a 0. That means we are going to have to go borrow. So we're going to come to this column and we're going to borrow a unit from it. And the unit we're going to get from it is a 2, because this column here actually is worth 4, if you look at your place values down at the bottom. And 4 is 2 lots of 2. So it's giving us a unit, and that unit is worth 2. So we write a 2 over here. Now we have 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay? And then there's nothing else left, because this was eventually a 0. So when we borrowed from it, so 0 minus 0 is 0. And 1 minus 1 on the first column comes to 1. So this 0 here is because we had already borrowed over there at the top. Left us with a 0 minus a 0. Okay, we gave that unit in a form of 2 to the column next to it. Well, now we're going to look, does it convert to 10? Is this binary answer the same as what it ought to be in the decimal equivalent? Well, let's convert it back. The first column is worth nothing, the first column on the side. Then the next column is worth a 2, so it's plus 2. Then the next column is nothing, and then the very first column is worth an 8. And we can see 8 plus 2 is equal to 10. So that worked beautifully. Let's try one more. Okay, so now you're familiar with why that is worth 9 and why that is worth 6 as the equivalent of these binary numbers standing here. And we can always look down there at the place values at the bottom if you're not familiar with it enough. I'm just going to go put a 0 in over here because we can in the front, just to make it simpler when it comes to our columns. So ideally we know it's 9 minus 6 is equal to 3, which means we would like a binary version of the answer of 3 over here. And we're going to work it back later just to see it does work out at that. Let's begin with our first column. 1 minus 0, we can do that. We are left with a 1. 0 minus 1 we can't do. We need to go and borrow. We can't fetch from that column because it's still a 0. So we're going to have to come to this column and take away that 1. Now we are taking away a unit from this column. Now this column is the 8 column. It's that column down there, which is actually 3 lots of 2. So that's going to be a 3 that goes across here to this side. 3 lots of 2. Okay. Now we need to take 1 lot of 2 away from that to give here. So that's going to be a 2. And this 1 lot of 2 is going to leave this 3 as a 1, because 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay. Right, so now we're on this column here. We now have borrowed. 2 minus 1 leaves us with 1. And then we're on to this column over here. 1 minus 1 leaves us with 0. We won't write it down. And this one, first column is also a 0 minus a 0 because you took away that 1. We are left with the binary number 1, 1. Let's convert it and hopefully it comes to the 3. Yes, it does. If we put 1, 1 down here, we can see we've got 1, 2 and 1, 1. So that's going to be the same as 1 plus 2, which is equal to this 3 over here. So the binary number 1, 1 is the same as the 3 on the other side. And it worked out beautifully. So what you have to remember is it's very important that you know your heading values of your binary place values down here and how many units of 2 each of those are. Because in this case, we borrowed 3 units of 2 when we came to this column because that's value of 8. And a 3 came across. And then when we gave to that column, we only gave 2 because that's what it is worth that we gave away. So it's a unit of 2 each time. And if you don't understand it very well, I think it's important that you start this lecture from the beginning again, and it should become clear again. And don't forget to press subscribe down there so that I can see you in the next lecture. Well done.